go. So we've had a bit of a hiatus from normal kind of playthroughs and run-throughs. I'm playing Food Chain Magnate on Sunday. I'm going to be teaching it, and I thought I'd just get a little rules explanation. So if any of my kind of people from my group want to watch and learn, and I'm going to put it on Facebook, and other people can watch and learn as well. Caveat: I only know the theory of this game. I have never actually played it, but I've done a fair bit of research. Obviously, read the rules, and so I'm just going to explain it, and kind of off we go. So the first of all, I'll just flip these over. So the game is set up with a bunch of these tiles, and for a two-player game, it's a 9, and then it's a 3x4, and then it's a 4x5 for the full 4-player game. Okay, and again, this is all explained in the rules. There is a setup section, but for this, I'm just going to have a very basic, very basic setup. And so you can see there's some houses, which are these things. You've got some sources of soft drinks, and then you've got some roads that kind of cut everything up. And so at the beginning of the game, you'll all start with no money at all, and you'll start with your card, and this is you, okay? And so this is you, and every round of the game you'll be playing this card, okay? And you can have 3 people working for you directly, and your ability is hire 1 person, and we'll kind of go into more detail there, but this is who you are. And the other thing you'll have is 3 cards, because this game is played until the bank breaks twice. So the first time, the bank has $50 per person in the bank, and then when the first bank breaks, you will reveal a selection of these cards that have already been decided at the beginning of the game, and you'll pick, so at the beginning of the game you'll pick one of these cards, and you'll pick it secretly, and everyone will do this, and then that will go into a common pool and be the second bank, and then the remaining cards are going to get put back into the box without being looked at, so no one knows what that second bank size will be. So obviously, if you want a really short game, you'll have put in $100, medium game and a long game, but obviously everyone is doing that, so you might get a mixture, okay? And that's one of the really key, the fundamental elements of Food Chain Magnate, is that you don't know necessarily which one it's going to be. There is a little extra bit here, you can see underneath, so these look very similar to your little tree, and so if the majority of the cards played in the reserve are 300, you will play with more people underneath you. If this majority is 200, you'll play with 3, and then the majority is 100, you play with 2. And if there's a tie between any of these, you always go with a higher amount. So say 2 people put 300 and 2 people put 100, you would all have 4 slots beneath you, okay? And so then that's going to get hidden and then revealed when the first bank breaks. So that's a bit of a explanation of those cards. So again, we're going back to the beginning of the game. So we've picked a reserve card, we've got our CEO, and then we're going to start with 3. We have 3 restaurants, and we're going to start the game with 1 restaurant, okay? And I'm just going to put another restaurant out, and they're going to place it here, for example. No, it's going to place it here. Okay, so this restaurant has already been placed, and its doorway is in this tile, so it's kind of deemed to be in this tile. The doorway is this little arrow in the corner. Okay, so when you're starting out, you can't have your entrance on the same tile as another. So I could not place it here or over here, but I could place it here, or I could place it over here. So what I might do is place it there. Okay. just as an example. So I'm trying to get as close as I can to these tiles. All right. The other thing to note is there is a fantastic player rate here, and this comes in the game, and it looks, another thing I love about it, I think everyone on Wax is lyrical about this, is it looks like a menu from a kind of American style diner, which is obviously what it's trying to be. And then you've got this player guide. So I'm going to just run through the player guide and then talk about the, for lack of a better word, tech tree or the promotion tree. And then as I'm talking about that, I will bring in the achievements, which are one of the most interesting aspects of this game, actually, and probably really what really makes it shine. So, okay, we're going to talk about, so the initial turn order, and I've got 3 up here, and this is the turn order track, is completely random. And then the person who's randomly first will then get to decide whether they're first, second, or third. And in this game, obviously going first has its advantages. For obviously you get to choose the options first and you get to act first, but actually going behind means you get to see what other people do, and this is where these come in, because these are first come, first served. And once they are claimed, even if they occur even if you manage to do it in a future round, you won't be able to get it. The only time you can get the same one as another player is if you achieve the same thing in that same round. And again, we'll kind of talk about that later. So that's where turn order becomes really important. Okay. So that's how the first round turn order works, kind of the beginning of the game. So you play restructuring. Okay, and so this is where and then in the first turn of the game, you only have you as the employee. So that's all you're going to be able to do. So you place that face down in front of them. Okay, and then you will. Then everybody, once everyone's chosen, you then reveal. Okay. And then you choose. Then you choose the order of business, and the order of business has 2 tiebreakers. The first tiebreaker is the person who has the most available slots here. So the one who hasn't used his full capability in managing. He's got other things. He's got other skills that he's not using, so he will then go first. And then the tiebreaker is previous turn order. So obviously the previous turn order was random, so you randomly assign to begin with, and then you will choose, and that will happen in the order of business. You then have working 9 to 5. So then here it says you have the player order, and then you each do all of the following steps. And so even though you played it all simultaneously, you still then follow this player order, okay, from left to right. And so you will first recruit employees, okay, and we'll talk kind of about what employees you can do as we go, okay. So you can recruit employees, and one of the employees you can recruit, and this is where we kind of tie in, is a trainer, okay. And so this on a following turn, you can use this employee to train, which is the next step. Okay, and so you'll train an employee. When you recruit, new cards will go face down in the beach, and the beach is the only place where things can be trained. So when you play a trainer in the future, okay, you can then train people in your beach. So if there's no one in your beach, you can't train. So then we've got initiate marketing campaign, and so that kind of brings us. So actually, sorry, hold on one second. What I'll do is so if you say you trained first, you would then get first to train someone, and we'll kind of explain what the discount on salaries means in a bit. But you would get, if you were the first to train and you train the first, and if for every player who trains in that round, they would get first to train. You would then the next thing you do is initiate marketing campaigns, and that comes in with something like this. And this is placing a billboard, maximum duration 2. So what you do is you take a billboard, okay, and it's got number 14, and I'm going to place it. Now a billboard is all about adjacent. So I'm going to place it adjacent to this. Let me place it over here. I'll place it adjacent to this this house, and I place my trainee. So this, again, this wouldn't happen on the first round when I played my CEO. I would hire, okay, and then on a future round I would then be able to use it and place my marketing trainee, and then with my marketing trainee I would then place that. Now I've placed the marketing trainee, okay, and because it's a duration 2, I can then place 2 lots of any one type of, so these are 2 burgers, so I'm going to place 2 burgers on there, and that will, okay, so that indicates that I'm going to have this is engaged, and I can't use it again for 2 rounds. Now I could, the maximum duration is 2, so I could always have it duration 1 if I wanted to. You can always reduce your duration, but once you've committed to that duration, it's committed and stuck there until it's depleted. Okay, but the first person to place a billboard gets first billboard, and so this says no salaries for marketers. So again, we'll talk about salaries in a minute, but then it says eternal marketing. And what does eternal marketing mean? It means that this marketing trainee is going to be there for the rest of the game. Okay, and so you see there's a infinity symbol on this side of the tile, so I place that down that way, and then I actually just put 1 down because that just reminds us that it's always going to be a burger. And so for the rest of the game, this house is going to want burgers. Okay, and so that's the eternal marketing. And again, only players who play a marketing card the first time somebody places a billboard. Okay, so you have to place a billboard on the same turn as the first person to do so, and they would get this card. Okay. Okay. So that's initiating a marketing campaign. We then get food and drinks. Okay, and this is where the other 2 basic, so 2 more of the basic cards come in. So the errand boy, get 1 drink of any type, and in Food Chain Magnate there's 3 kinds of drink. You got Coca-Cola, beer, and lemonade. Okay, so that just means you just take a drink. Or if you had a kitchen trainee, you would produce 1 burger or 1 pizza, and for each of those, you would get the respective first milestone. So if you made a pizza, you'd get 1 pizza cook, and you'd get that immediately. So first burger produced, you'd get that immediately, and you'd then take the burger cook, the pizza cook, or here, all buyers get +1 drink from each source, and a buyer is these pale cards here. Okay, so all the ones that you would then upgrade to will always get an extra drink from each source, and that will make sense in a little bit. Okay, and this backdates, so the first errand boy played will get two of whatever type they want. Okay. We then place new houses and gardens, and again, we haven't really talked about this, but later on, when you have a try to find it. Yeah, and when you play something like the new business developer, you may place a house or a garden. So you can take a house or a garden, for example, this garden here, and you can upgrade the house to have a garden. Okay, and that's when that would happen. And then the last thing that happens in this round is if you have a local manager or a regional manager, okay, you get to place another restaurant. Remember I said you start off with 3, okay, and so you would place it on the coming soon side, okay, and then on the following turn you would then flip this. So it's coming soon for one whole round and then it gets flipped. And drive-in available means every turn that you play this card, instead of only having access this corner, you have access all the way around. Okay, so again that's there. Okay, and then so every player does this in order, and again early in the game you're going to be recruiting and training, possibly initiating marketing campaigns and getting food and drink, placing new houses and gardens, and placing or moving restaurants is something you will do much later in the game. Okay. We then get dinner time, and dinner time is a very, very interesting kind of almost a scoring mechanic. And so what will happen is in a future round, and we'll kind of set something up while we're talking. In a future round, say this one who wants burgers, okay, and a marketing campaign. We haven't really talked about it, but there are other kinds of marketing campaigns. So you've got a mail, or what is it called? A mailbox. Okay, so you've got a mailbox here, and a mailbox. If I place a mailbox here, will market to every house in its enclosed space. Okay, so for example, if I do it here, this one will want, say, let's say beer. Okay. Okay, and so so you've got burger. So the burger would have $5 extra for burger sold. You've got pizza would be $5 for every pizza sold. First pizza marketed, first drink marketed, $5 for every drink. So there's some more little milestones. So you've got the mailbox, you've got a aeroplane, which you put in line. There are 3 different sizes. It's a 1, a 3 and a 5, and this will market the whole line. So here, for example, and there's the reason I'm talking about marketing now is because what I'm doing is I'm setting up a few marketing things so then we can talk about how we deliver to these different places. So let's market pizza on these. Okay. Okay. And then finally, we've got the radio tower who does, we'll do it here, and the radio tower does the tile it's on and every tile around it. So we'll do a maximum of 9 tiles. So that's really quite powerful. And let's say that's lemonade. Okay. So now, house number 4 wants pizza, burgers, and lemonade. And house number 12 wants a beer, lemonade, and pizza. And now, the thing with dinner time, okay, and you resolve dinner time in the order of house number, okay? And each unit price is $10. And you then have certain modifiers that will depend on a few factors. Okay. So the first thing you need to look for, let's look at house number 4. Okay, is there's a restaurant who is on the same tile, and on the same tile is a distance of 0. 1 tile away, so the blue, so this green, this Zango Blues bar is one tile away. So if both of these have one pizza, one lemonade, and one burger, then if they both have them, so they both have the ability to produce them, and you can't just produce one or two, you have to produce everything that the house wants. Otherwise they won't leave their house. Okay? They will then come along to the Santa Maria, because at the moment the Santa Maria pizza is closer, so that if when they're even, it's closer. Okay? But wait, what if the green player had played a pricing manager, so he makes it one cheaper. Now actually the first pricing manager, the first person to lower prices, actually gets a permanent -1. Okay. Now, so if he's played this, he'd actually be at -2. Okay. So now his base value is 8, and he's 1 away. So his score, for lack of a better word, his score is going to be 9, and his is going to be 10. So these guys will travel over to here. Now, if there's a tie, then the tiebreaker is how many waitresses have been played. Okay, the waitresses do two things. They break ties. So the restaurant with the greater number of waitresses played will break the tie, but they also earn the player 3 cash. Okay, because people like good service. And the first waitress played will also forever earn you an additional 2 per waitress. And so we're looking at house 4. They can both supply it. Okay, well, we're saying they can both supply it, and he's reduced his prices. So they will, instead of going there, they will come here. Now, there are other cards that reduce prices even more. So he could have played that, but then he will only make $7 per item. And at the moment, he'll make $8 per item. And if he hadn't played his pricing manager, he would have made $10 per item. Okay. So then once they've sold, these are then removed, okay, because those have been fulfilled, and the player then gives up the same resources from themselves, okay, and then earns their money. So this our last example, this guy will have earned 8 times 3, so $24 for that house. Okay, if the let's move on to the next house, because that will kind of start explaining a few other thoughts about the I've not put that on there, so we didn't know what it was marketing. So a house with a garden does two things. First of all, there's a limit to a house, and it can only have 3 items marketed to it. And so that house was at its capacity. So if somebody else marketed to it as well, nothing would get added. So it'd be a wasted effort. A garden can have 5. A house and a garden can have 5. Okay. The other thing a garden does is it doubles the unit price. So every one of these is now worth 20. Okay. And so, for example, in our example here, say they both have the ability to provide for this house as well. So obviously, if they didn't have the ability, if one of them didn't have the ability, then they would obviously go to the other one. Okay. If they both had the ability, then they're both at 20. This one's 1 away, and this one is 2 away, because you have to follow a valid road. Okay. And this guy, remember, has got a pricing manager, and he is then pricing it at So he's minus 2. Okay. So he is going to be 20 per item, and he's going to be 18 per item. Okay. And so these guys will actually be equal, because it will be 20 minus 1 for one step. So that would be 19. Oh no, it won't be. And then this will be 18 minus, not minus, I'm sorry, I'm getting myself confused. So he'll be 20 plus 1, because you're going one step. So you're not earning 21, but you've got a score of 21. And here, he's got a score of 1, 2, 20. So they will still come to this guy. So you can see how powerful your pricing managers and your discount managers are, but obviously you'll be earning less money. So you need to really be careful about kind of how you manage that. The other thing is, we talked about these cards here. Okay, these are bonus. This is bonus money. So this is you only get this money after everything else has been considered. So the green guy will only get his extra $5 for every drink sold. So that'll be another $10 here, after he's already confirmed that he will be the restaurant selling to this place. So you don't take these into consideration as a unit price. So these are only a bonus item after everything else is considered. So what you do is you'd pay 18 per item here. Okay, so he'd have to give up that from his own stock, and these would get removed because they're fulfilled, the demand is fulfilled. And then after that, for every drink sold, you would make $5 more per drink. Okay. Okay, if there was a situation where nothing changed, okay, say they couldn't be delivered to, that demand will stay there. They still want those items. Okay. We will then at the end of the round, at the end of the dinner time, the waitresses take their money. Okay. We then have payday. Now, we haven't really talked about it, but quite a lot of the advance cards, so let's open it up to show you. Quite a lot of the advance cards, actually all of the advance cards, so all the ones past tier 1 have a little dollar symbol. They've got a little money symbol here, and that's the salary that you need to pay. And every single one is $5. But don't forget that the milestone to train somebody has a 15% discount on salaries. Okay. And the marketing one, if I can find it, where did I put it? The eternal marketing, oh, it's over here. The eternal marketing here makes all salaries for marketers free. Okay. And that is an interesting development, because there is a milestone, first to pay 20 or more in salaries. Okay, may use multiple trainers on the same person. So I'll explain that in a second. But this doesn't, the discount for both no salaries for the marketers and the first to train somebody is non-optional. You have to use the discount. So you can't volunteer not to use the discount, but the discount also doesn't then reduce below 0. Okay, so you can't make money off it either. But then the first person to play more than 20 gets an extra ability when they're training. So it kind of gives you an incentive to train. Okay. So it says here, pay 5 per one of those symbols, and that is including people who are at your beach, because they still need to be paid, whether they were working for you or they were on a holiday. Reductions may apply, so we've already talked about that. Okay. There's a few cards. The recruiting manager and the HR director, that you can hire one person twice or hire one person 4 times. So you can hire 4 people in one round. But for every one you don't hire on these, you pay 5 less salary. So you could use it to either mitigate your salaries or pay or hire more people, and that's obviously a choice you can make. Okay. We then get to marketing campaigns. So we've kind of played it slightly out of order because we've been jumping around. But if we clear all this off and we kind of come back to our initial marketing campaign here where we placed our Infinity Burger, we will then place so when it's first placed, nothing goes down. And then we then come to resolve marketing campaigns here. So after the first dinner time, we resolve campaigns in order of printed numbers. So this is where the number on the marketing campaign comes in, okay? And then we place it down. And on a normal marketing campaign, you would remove them from the here, and then they would get removed. But obviously on an infinite one, you then have eternal marketing, and you will continually put that out, okay? And again, you'll have the most will be 3 demand tokens on a house, with 5 from a garden, okay? And it's very possible to have 2 demand on one house of the same item, okay? And that's very possible. We then do cleanup, and then you discard any unsold food or drink, okay? So that will be, there is a milestone where you will have the first to throw away, and you get a freezer that stores up to 10 items. So on the first time that you throw away food or drink, if you are one of the people who throw away together the first time, you'll get this again. If you miss that opportunity, it's then gone for the rest of the game. And this is where you then activate new restaurants. So restaurants that are built up in working 9 to 5 will then get activated. Returning empty marketing campaigns. Take all employee cards back into hand, including marketers with no active marketing campaign. Take remaining milestone cards that have been awarded this turn out of play. Okay, and that's the general flow. I will then talk through the remaining cards just to kind of introduce them. Okay, so we've talked a bit about hiring from a CEO point of view, but you can hire more people, and the reason you'd want to do that is there is a first to hire 3 people in one turn, and that will get you 2 management trainees. Okay, we'll talk about management trainees in a bit. Okay. You then have, we've talked a little bit about the marketing trainee over here, but you've also got the mailbox, the campaign manager, who's the guy who puts the mailbox out, and the brand manager who puts the aeroplane out. Okay. And there is a first aeroplane campaign which gives you two extra slots in your hierarchy, but only when determining player order. So it doesn't actually help you manage more people, it just lets you have +2 when you're counting turn order. Okay. We then move on to the people who collect drinks. So this cart operator has a range of 2, and this is what this number here means. They get 2 drinks from each source en route. And so you count from your place here, and I then need to go 0 is where I start, and then I go 1, and I can't go anywhere else. Now I have to follow the route and go past the source. So actually I have got a choice. I can either go this way or down here to get the lemonade, or I go this way to get the beer. I can't get both because I don't pass the lemonade if I get the beer. Okay, so it's very specific on that sense. And I get 2 drinks from each source. And obviously there's no game ever has 4 tiles, so you'd always have at least 9 tiles. Okay, and the truck driver does a very similar thing, but he can go 3 range and get 3 drinks. Okay. And then here, the first cart operator played gets the buyer, which is any of these green ones here, +1 range. Okay. We can then move on to the upgrade for the kitchen assistant, sorry, kitchen trainee. you've got these two. So you've got produces 3 pizzas or produces 3 burgers. So very straightforward. And then we've got probably the most interesting aspect of the game from a running your business point of view. So you've got this here. You've got your hierarchy. Sorry, you've got your hierarchy here. Okay. Now you can obviously put 3 people below you, but actually there are some other managers that you can pick. Okay, so you've got management trainee, and these follow all the way up. Okay. So you've got management trainee, junior vice president, and senior vice president. And for example, if you were to put you there and then the senior vice president below you, okay, the senior vice president can then have 5 more people below him. But you can never put a manager under another manager. Okay, so the most you can ever have is 3 tiers. So yourself, your managers, and then your employees. Okay, so you could easily do this, for example, and then have up to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people below you. So you can get a really quite far. Okay, now we've talked a little bit about that already, but obviously you've got the recruiting manager and you've got the coach. Okay, so this coach will train the same person 2 steps, but unless you have the milestone that says you may use multiple trainers on the same person, you can't use a coach and a trainer on the same person. You can use the coach on the same person, but you can't use both, okay, unless you have that milestone. Okay. So let's look at how you upgrade. So we'll start at the bottom because it's probably the simplest. So you can go kitchen trainee and then up to a burger cook. And then I haven't talked about these ones yet, but I will in a second. I'll talk about all the final stages of the upgrades all in one go. And then you've got the marketing, and they go straight up. And then you've got the errand boy, so the buyers, and they go straight up. No one is upgrades from a recruiting girl or a trainee. No one upgrades from a pricing manager, so there's no arrow here. So these don't upgrade to their respective betters. The management trainee is how you get to the higher positions for these and all of these. Okay, so you can see that actually the management trainee has a lot of potential to get you further abilities and more specialist abilities. And then the waitress is a dead-end job, and so you'll be there. Okay, so let me talk about all these. The reason I've selected them separately is because they've all got this 1 times symbol. Okay, and so you have a pizza chef and a burger chef, and these all have 1 times, which means in your corporation you can only have 1 copy, and they are limited. These are the only cards that are very limited. All the others, I think there's 12 copies or thereabouts of each. There's only 3 burger chefs and only 3 pizza chefs, and that's only in a 4-player game. In a 3 or 2-player game, you have fewer. So in a 2-player game, there's actually only 1 of each type. Okay. You've then got a brand director. His range is infinite, and this is how you place a radio mast. And there is a radio. I've lost it. There's a radio. Yes, there's a first radio campaign. Okay, your radios market 2 goods per turn instead of 1. So obviously that can be really powerful. But these 2 goods are the same goods, so you can market. So this can be can bite bite you a little bit. So you can mark it, but every time it markets a burger, it actually markets 2 burgers. So you'll fill up all those houses much quicker with the first radio. So that's something to bear in mind. You've then got the Zeppelin pilot, so it's range of 4, and the Zeppelin ignores roads. So you'll literally go to this tile and you'll pick him up because you've hit the tile, and you'll go to this tile. And then you'll get 2 drinks from 1 route, ignore roads. So you can cut across roads and you can go in any way you want. And that's also true of the brand director. You can ignore roads and go in infinite many directions, because I didn't mention it, but the campaign manager has a range and must obey roads. Okay. We've also got a guru who's 3 training slots. So that means you can train one person 3 times or 3 different people. Okay. You've got a HR director, so hire up to four people or reduce salaries up to 4 times, or a mixture of both. A vice president puts 10 people to work. That's fantastic. We'll talk about the CFO in a second. So you've got the luxuries manager. The luxuries manager adds $10 to the unit price for each thing. So this is actually interesting. This is if you have managed to get a monopoly on a house, you can actually then increase the prices, and they have no choice but to pay you. A regional manager, place or move a restaurant opens immediately. So this is like the local manager, but there's no coming soon stage. So this restaurant can be used in their immediate dinner time. Okay. We then have the CFO, who triggers after the end of dinner time. Okay. Add 50% cash earned this round. So a very useful ability. And then there were only 2 more milestones really to talk about, because we've actually covered everything, which is why I thought doing a 40-minute explanation for people might be really helpful. The first to have $20, you may see the bank reserves, so you get to have a look at what's going to come up next. And then the first to have $100, your CEO, so that, remember, don't forget, that's you. You are the CEO, okay? Counts as a CFO, and then you may not have a CFO. If you do happen to have a CFO, you can give up. You must give up your CFO. Now, we didn't really talk about it, but if you are here, then you can pay salaries or fire people, and firing people returns them back to the supply. Okay, so if you either don't want to or can't pay, you can then reduce your outgoings. Okay, so we've talked about all of these. We've gone through all of these, and we've gone through all of this, and that is Food Chain Magnate. Okay, if you've got any questions or comments, maybe one thing we didn't really see is there are tiles that are houses and gardens, and these can be placed with the same card, the new business development, and these can be placed anywhere. Okay, and the other thing I didn't say is new restaurants don't have the same restriction as starting restaurants. So starting restaurants, you couldn't place the entrance on the same tile as another restaurant, but if this was a later restaurant, I could place it here. It wouldn't have the same issue. I think that's it. I'm going to have to tidy up because I've made a ginormous mess over here, but that's fine. So hopefully we'll enjoy Food Chain Magnate on Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to it. See you later.